Danny DeKeyser got waived. Is this finally the end of the line? And also, is it time for Filip Zadina to have a change of scenery?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, just a couple average Joes with you here today. Another beautiful, I don't know if it's a beautiful day outside. It's probably really cold out. I want to thank you guys for making us your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts you will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. Scotty, we're going to dedicate 2 whole segments to our Filip Zadina, whether or not he needs to change the scenery things. But then the Red Wings came out today. What did they do? The eyes are playing is in full motion. So yesterday, they picked up Oliu from the Florida Panthers.
Nailed that, by the way. Nice job.
Thank you. 6'2" defenseman from Finland. Well, from Florida, but he's Finnish. And they put Joe Veleno down in the minors. And we were thinking all these different reasonings, mainly like Joe Veleno would come back up after the trade deadline. Then they put Carter Rowney back in the IR, called Joe Veleno back up again, and then waived Danny DeKeyser. And that is where we really have to lead things off here. One, my first thing I want to say, I feel so bad for Carter Rowney. He just came off injury, scored 2 goals, got injured immediately.
It's tough. And he was playing well.
He was.
We talked about it. We talked about the advanced analytics and everything. Like, the fourth line had been very productive since he came back. Like, very productive. As a whole line, he got a boost when he came back. It really does suck, man. I feel for him.
But then the waiving of Danny DeKeyser really kind of struck us. Now, it shouldn't really surprise us too much. He did get sent down to the Grand Rapids Griffins
on his birthday, dog. On his birthday?
Happy 32nd birthday, Danny DeKeyser.
On his birthday. And, like, you had to, because if the corresponding roster moves wouldn't have taken effect officially, technically they wouldn't have been allowed to, like, have played and all the corresponding moves, but they didn't do it today. But, like, on his birthday, come on.
Well, they had to wait. So they sent Joe Veleno down yesterday because they had to wait till today to put Carter Rowney on the IR. And then they brought him back up. And then they still had to send somebody back down. So they waived DeKeyser. Let's be honest. No one's picking up Danny DeKeyser on a $5 million contract. And he's like not the player he once was, clearly dealing with injuries.
Guaranteed not getting picked up.
He did get sent down to the Griffins twice last year, found his way back up. And so the question I really have for you is this the end of the line for Danny DeKeyser, or do you think we'll see him again this season?
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. It really is a tough one to me because I could 100% see and understand him. No one picks him up. They send him down to GR, and him just looking around and going, you know what? If I'm going to spend the rest of the season down in the A, I'm good, man. I'm happy with my career. I made a bag, and I don't need to finish off. I don't need my ride off into the sunset to be in the AHL. Like I'm good on that. I'm just gonna hang him up. If wait until the waiver process ends, guarantee that no one's gonna pick him up. And then just go, you know what? I'm good on that, boys. I'm gonna hang him up. I'll catch you on the flip side. Like I could see it, and very justifiable. You could very much understand where he's coming from with that.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the same time, he kind of went up and down a few times last year, and we've seen injury problems, on this team prevalently. We just talked about Rowney, and the defense. With him, if he gets sent down, the defense would be just big enough to have 6 or 7, I guess. But I don't know. I could see. I could see either one, but I would very much understand if he just hung him up after they told him, you know what, we're going to send you down.
Yeah, I don't. So here's the big thing for me on this current roster. He, especially with the pickup of Oli Uelevi, he is currently odd man out. He just doesn't have a spot on the roster anymore, and that's nothing against him. It's just that's the state. That's the truth. He just
Yep.
is. He's been underperforming all season long due to a myriad of injuries. It sucks to see. I
Nice
said it in my
wordplay
tweet.
there. Nice word choice.
What did
That
I
was
do?
good.
I don't even know
No,
what I
your word
said.
choice was good. I was just
Oh,
complimenting you.
thank you.
That
Thank you.
sentence was structured very well. I'm a writer.
He's a writer. Yeah, he's been underperforming his contract. But in all reality, I've been a huge Danny DeKeyser fan since his debut in 2013. I wrote a long tweet about it. Like, it's 100% the right move. I understand it, but it is definitely not something I'm happy about. There are people on Twitter who are celebrating the waiving of Danny DeKeyser. I'm not. This isn't how I wanted his career to go. It's similar to how I felt with the Johan Franzen situation, even Justin Abdelkader to a degree. These are guys who had
People
sparkling
forget
starts.
the last year of Abby. People
Yeah,
forget
no
the last
goals.
year of Abby, and well, I think everybody remembers how poorly it went, but people forget how much he was just crapped on by the fan base, man.
And these are people. These are people who are just trying to play the game that they love. And I will always sympathize with that to a certain degree. And it's just tough because I know he's going out there and he's trying his best, but this is 100% the move I agree with. And it's hard to see a player that had a lot of potential because of injuries, especially, not be able to live up to that potential. But, this is the move that needed to be made. Now, here's the thing, though. On this current roster, like I said, he's not going to come back up. But the trade deadline is 2 weeks away. And if Nick Leddy and Troy Stetcher get offloaded, there becomes a window for Danny DeKeyser to get called back up. Because who are the guys that you're going to call back up? DeKeyser, Dan Renouf. Those are your top two candidates because I don't think there's anyone on the Griffins right now.
Dan Renouf, you say?
I said Dan Renouf. He's playing again down in the Griffins. But those are the two guys down there that I hate you so much. So he's doing his little cocky stuff. Those are the two guys down there in Grand Rapids that are going to be first call, regardless of playing ability. Danny DeKeyser is just a 31-year-old veteran, 32-year-old veteran now. It's going to be first call. And so while I basically, as I'm starting to ramble, summarize it, if there's no trades made at the trade deadline to offload any contracts, he stays down in Grand Rapids. But I think the window would be open for him to come back if they offload a couple bodies.
For sure. And I think, man, like maybe he stays down there until the deadline. And then if Leddy isn't moved, maybe then he hangs him up. I just, maybe it's because I really do love DDK. I love him, man. And so maybe it's just me not wanting to have the last 2 months of his professional hockey career most likely be in the AHL, but like I don't know. I don't know. And that, I mean, with all those moves and with him now going down to GR and everything, now we have Veleno. We talk about people coming back up. Veleno comes back up, sadly at the expense of Rowney. We already talked about that. Kind of feel bad for the kid, but I think there's a general consensus that Jakub Vrana is coming back.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't catch it when I was talking about the transactions made earlier, the Red Wings still cleared up one extra roster spot with all the moves they made on Monday by putting Carter Rowney on IR and sending Danny DeKeyser, well, assuming DeKeyser clears waivers and goes down. Either way, he's going to be in Grand Rapids or on a different hockey team. That's two roster spots. They called up Veleno. Now there's one roster spot remaining. So the expectation is that Jakub Vrana is going to play in tonight's hockey game against the Arizona Coyotes. And I'm pretty sure I saw him practicing on the second line, and we're going to definitely be talking about that when we preview the game.
Yeah.
But so the lines were Larkin, Raymond, Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi back on the top line. They put Vrana on the second line because he's a top six forward. Makes sense. Put him with Suter and Fabry. Zadina was not on the third line. Zadina was on the fourth line at practice. And that got me thinking. And we'd already been kind of thinking about
It's
it.
always dangerous.
It is dangerous. Steam's coming out my ears.
When Brian's thinking,
the cogs are turning. Maybe it is time for a change of scenery for Filip Zadina. And we'll talk about that as the trade deadline approaches. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about betonline.net. Football might be over, but basketball is in full swing for both pro and college hoops, from the latest odds totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land. BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC, and just pretty much any sport you guys can imagine. Head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Whoa.
Yeah.
BetOnline. You're not getting past. You're not getting through that.
Tried to blow past you. So, Scotty.
Brian. Filip Zadina, fourth line.
Yeah.
Do you think that is or isn't an do you think it has I don't even know how to word this. Do you think that is at all potentially correlated to his future with the team?
No. I'll use that as a tease. No, I don't think it is.
No, I mean, like, it's a damn good tease, brother. But like I think it's.
I think if you're
on the Bird app, you see people talk a lot, and that was definitely one of the things that was flying around there.
I think if you're trying to move Zadina, you're putting him on top line minutes to give him the most time to showcase him. But there is definitely a conversation to be had about whether or not Filip Zadina needs a change of scenery. He is an enormous enigma. We've talked about him throughout the season, and he is polarizing in the fact that let's see, got a tab over. In 54 games played so far this season, he has 9 points. He's got 4 goals and a total of 5 assists. That is not very good for a guy who's 6th overall. Expectations were set when he said, I'm going to fill the pucks with nets, or fill the net with pucks.
I'm going to fill the pucks with some nets, baby. Yeehaw!
Man, am I wonderful at my job.
Agreed.
So on the surface, you're like, yeah, he's not living up to expectations. And he's been everywhere in the lineup. He's been 4th line. He's been 3rd line. He's been 2nd line. He's been top line. He's been scratched. And yet, no matter where he goes, he can't seem to get the engine running point production-wise. But then you begin to look at the advanced analytics. And I came across this the other day, just, messing around, trying to learn some things. Filip Zadina has a expected goals for percentage of 47.65, which you want that number to be above 50. So on the surface, that doesn't seem all that impressive, but you have to keep in mind that the Detroit Red Wings as a whole, their expected goals for percentage as a team is below 50 because they're just not that great of a team this year. Much better than they have been, but overall not that great still, below 500 hockey team. If you were to transfer that and change that to his expected goals for percentage relative to his teammates, you would quickly see that he is 6th on the team with an expected goals for percentage relative to his teammates of 2.14. So when he is on the ice, he is helping generate 2.14 more quality shots than when he is off the ice. He has a positive impact on the ice versus off the ice in 636 minutes played so far this season, 54 games. And really, when I say he's 6th on the team, he's really honestly 4th on the team, because the 1 and 2 on there is Riley Barber and Dan Renouf, who have played 2 and 4 games respectively.
So he's not 6th.
So he's more like 4th if you want to filter it by minutes.
Yeah, we're not counting.
We're not counting Barber and Renouf. So he's 4th on the team.
He's 5th. We'll count Dan Renouf.
All right.
No, I'm playing.
But
so he's 4th on the team. He's 4th.
Yes, and even when you were looking at just the goals for expected goals for percentage, not relative, which the 48 or whatever I said, he was still 8th on the team. So his possession stats say that he is a positive impact on this team. Regardless of where you put him in the lineup, he's helping produce quality scoring chances when he is on the ice. Not just any shots, not like he's taking shots from along the boards. He is helping either directly or indirectly produce scoring opportunities, but he's just not finding the back of the net. He's just not directly involved in the puck that goes in the net. So what is Filip Zadina? Is it just the case of maybe he needs a change of scenery? Does he need a change of scenery, Scotty, to finally become the player that the advanced analytics say he could be?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know. No one can get into the mind of Filip Zadina and know if he needs a change of scenery for his own sake. I'm not ready for the change of scenery yet. I'm not there. I want, at this point, we're in too deep. Gots to see it through, my boy. We're in too deep. There is evidence, as we have just gone over, of him being a productive player, and it's just it's so frustrating, and it's frustrating for the entire fan base. I'm sure it's frustrating for the front office, and more than anybody, I'm sure it's frustrating for Filip Zadina.
Yeah,
he is just, and this is going to sound very like matter of fact, Captain Obvious, but he is just a little bit of goal scoring away from being a wildly productive player. That's it. That's all that stands in his way. We've seen steps taken on defense from him this year. We now see the possession metrics are some of the best on the team. Not a great team, but they're some of the best on the team. I want to see it through. And I personally, whether you think he needs it to be better or not is subjective. I'm not ready for that yet. I'm not ready for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to see Filip Zadina get traded, but if it's another Anthony Mantha situation where, and now, first of all, comparing apple to oranges there when you're comparing him to Anthony Mantha, so it's probably unfair for me to even say that. I'm going to take that back.
Comparing him to Apple.
And comparing him to Anthony Mantha? Leave me alone, Scotty.
No. You said you're comparing apples to oranges when you're comparing him to Apple.
Clip that. He's still an RFA. He's waiver exempt still. That's how few games in the NHL he has still managed to play. He's only making $894,000 a year. But that also makes him a very alluring trade target from that standpoint. An RFA with getting paid $894,000 a year, who's also waiver exempt. You could get a lot in return for a guy who still has a high ceiling, but also positive metrics. The guys he's behind, by the way, on that list I talked about was Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, and Tyler Bertuzzi. The three best forwards on the team. He's the fourth best forward on the team possession metric wise, and those numbers were only at 5-on-5. I only told you the 5-on-5 numbers because that's the power play and penalty kill tends to skew them one way or the other because he only plays power play. If you were to look at all strengths, if you were to hit submit and it tells you all strengths and you wait for the web page to load, okay, here we go. He's even higher on that list. He is at... Oh, that's relative.
Drum roll, please.
Yeah, seriously, drum roll, please. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
So you have Filip Zadina, who's a hockey player.
So I'm good. We're good. So his relative, he's still fourth on that list at now 8.23 quality shots for a game. And then if you were to look at his overall, just his counts, his just expected goals for percentage in general, at all strengths, drum roll, please. He now moves up to third on the team with an expected goals for percentage of 52.86.
Top three on the team.
You filter that by 5-on-5 typically because he only plays power play, so that skews it because obviously your possession metrics are going to look really good on the power play and look really bad on the penalty kill. But if you were to trade a guy like Filip Zadina, because that's what we're talking about in the end. We're not just talking about how polarizing he is. What could you realistically ask for him?
I mean, it better be a lot. Like, I mean, what you think you could, you better get a bag, brother. Like, there's no, you're trading a dude that's still what,
Under team
21,
control, yeah.
21, 22 years old, and it is still under team control, and was your 6th overall pick, and was projected to be higher than that on draft night and fell to you. And now we're learning I'm learning has great possession metrics and all that. Like, there's just you better get a Mantha-esque return for that. I mean, for real, there's no you don't trade him, man. Like, at the end of the day, what you if you're going to, you better get something big. But even that, I'm good, man.
So I don't know if it would
I'm
be
good.
to the gravity of what Mantha got, because again, you're comparing Vrana, you're comparing
Right.
Zadina to apples in this situation. The reason I would say not Mantha-esque is because Mantha was on a longer contract. He had just signed an extension.
Agreed.
So,
I'm saying for it
yes,
to get justified to me, and anything less than that, I would be upset with, and you're not going to get that.
it's got to be
That
either
is not the correct value. Another team is not going to value him like that. So because our value, the ceiling for us is still high enough, he could still become a good enough player that it does not justify, in my eyes, trading him for something that's going to be less than what you got for Mantha. That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree with you. But for the sake of the argument, I will say that if you were to trade Filip Zadina, you should accept no less than a first-round pick or a comparable player, because either a first-round pick or the Jakub Vrana version of Filip Zadina. Like last year, we traded Mantha for Vrana. They're comparable players. Something like that for Zadina. The reason I'm saying that is because you're at the point in the rebuild, you don't really want to take a risk on, and I would almost rather have a comparable player at this point than a first-round draft pick. I don't want to spend another 5 years developing a player.
Correct.
Who,
we're not at that point in the rebuild.
Yeah, this team's getting to the point where they're ready to compete sooner rather than later. I would want a comparable player, a player who would also maybe need a change of scenery in order to compete. Basically, again, Mantha for Vrana, just without the picks this time.
Sure,
just without the extra picks.
Right, and like I said, I fully understand that you're not going to get that type of return. I'm just saying, for it to be justifiable in my eyes, I'm still far from ready to give up on the kid.
Oh, so am I.
So because of that, you would guaranteed be getting less than what you got for Mantha, because no other team is going to value him that highly. You might as well just hold on to him and see what you got.
Well, that's the thing that's going to hurt you too, is you're going to try, if you do think, okay, we need to get Zadina out of here, he's not performing, and he needs a change of scenery. Anytime you pick up the phone and try to call someone, the first thing the other NHL GM is going to say is he's only got 6 points or whatever it is, and 9 points in 53 games played. Why does he deserve a first-round pick? And you can spew out the advanced metrics, but in the end, it's going to be those numbers that they're going to keep going back to because they are black and white.
Yes.
Those are the black and white numbers, and you've played him everywhere in the lineup. So I don't know if there's going to be a market for Filip Zadina unless you're trading him to a team that has time to spare to try and make him a reclamation project, in which case, you're looking at a team that's not I don't know. It'd be really difficult, I think, to trade Filip Zadina, and I don't want to trade Filip Zadina. I think there's still time to get him going. We've talked about it throughout. This is his first full NHL season. I just said he is still waiver exempt, Scotty. That's how few games in the NHL he has still played.
I agree with everything you said, brother.
All right, cool. We're not trading Filip Zadina.
There you go.
Settled on that. But he still is on the fourth line, and that does have implications to this game that's coming up tonight against the Arizona Coyotes. And we're going to preview that game, but first I got to talk to you guys today about RockAuto.com. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Oh my lord. Why endure often I'm not cutting this. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from the chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Go explore their easy-to-use website to find their solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked down in there. How did you hear about us box so they know we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts you will ever need. rockauto.com. Ooh, not my best one, Scotty. Not my best work. But we made
No,
it
dude,
through.
you killed that.
Thank you, buddy. You're my hype man. You're my number one fan.
Always, baby. Always.
I'm like your number 5 or 6 fan, probably.
I don't know about that.
So the Red Wings play the Arizona Coyotes tonight. This is the second of 2 matchups between the two teams. The last time these two teams played, we don't want to talk about that. The Red Wings lost in overtime.
What a game.
Not great. You lost to the worst team in the league. And they are the worst team in the league. 16-35-4 is their record. They're 8th in the Central Division. They have 6
Montreal's
uniforms.
Challenging.
You're right.
What it's worth.
Montreal is definitely challenging.
But we've lost to them a couple of times this year, too.
3 of the 4, I think. Or do we still have one more matchup with them this season? I can't remember.
I think it's 2 of 3.
Yeah, not good. Not great, Bob. They
Not great,
have
Bob.
the second worst penalty percentage in the league at 73.7%. Only team worse is the Vancouver Canucks. They have the worst power play in the league at 12.6%. So they are not a good hockey team. In fact, they are much worse.
Power play than us?
They have a worse power play. The Red Wings power play is 6th worst in the league. There are 5 teams with worse power plays in the Red Wings.
Taking steps up, man.
Yeah, the Coyotes, Canadiens, Flyers, Kraken, and Kings all have worse power plays than the Detroit Red Wings. And I find that so hard to believe because we watched this
Kings one is surprising to me, honestly.
Yeah.
The other ones aren't. The Kings one is.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, this Arizona Coyotes team, for lack of a better term, stinks.
Yeah, so it'll be a close game for no reason, for sure.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say these are the kind of games that players like Filip Zadina and it's a great game for Jakub Vrana to come back in. Like these are the kind of games that people who are struggling or coming off injury or want to get back on Friday, like these are the games that they go out there and they show out in, and that's what these games are for. That's what players on good teams do. They take advantage and good teams beat bad teams. That's how it works. But the individual player performances are so important. Again, to you can right a wrong. You've been struggling lately. These are the kind of games you can get back up on and
Get back on what?
That's I already said it, brother. You missed it. But that's but for real. I mean that's the that should be, besides winning, that should be the goal going into this game. Get some confidence back in maybe Joe Veleno types or Zadina or Vrana coming off injury, Ned having another good game. Like these are, or Grice if you want to try and improve his trade market, maybe you go Grice. Like these are what these games are for at this point in the season.
Yeah, they need this one, Scotty.
They
we
do.
talked about how the playoff odds, it is what it is. But you just got through a really tough stretch, and you have more tough games ahead of you. This is your breather. And obviously, you never take any hockey game lightly. But this is a team that's down bad this season, and you need a win after 2 rough back-to-back losses in Florida. You got barely squeaked by the Carolina Hurricanes and had a rough loss before that. This is a win that you desperately need to have. And you have to show up and show out, especially if this is Vrana's first game back, because now your forward depth is probably the best it's ever been. If Vrana does indeed play, now we've been kind of working on the assumption he is playing tonight. We don't 100% have confirmation that's true yet. So he could still not play. But if he plays, your forward depth is the best it's ever been. Filip Zadina on the fourth line sucks, but also, holy hell, that makes the fourth line really freaking good.
Yeah. And you already have you already had some depth down there with we went through a period at the middle of the season when there were a lot of injuries, and you've already had some of those guys come back. You've had Veleno up even with people coming back off injury. You've had good seasons from Vlad and stuff. Like, we've already had a big step up in our depth this season, and Vrana coming back, like you said, makes it easily the deepest offense we have had this entire season.
And the defense, honestly, kind of addition by subtraction. I mean, Danny DeKeyser being waived, you take a guy, a reclamation project like Reliably, and until I hear otherwise, that's how I'm pronouncing his name. Until Mickey Redmond and Ken Daniels pronounce it, that's how I'm pronouncing it. He's a reclamation project. He hasn't been that great in his season and a half, or really not even a season and a half, like 3/4 of a season total. I'm pumped to see him too. I'm pumped to see what he can bring. I mean, he's injury prone. He hasn't been that great in his, 1.5 seasons that he's played in the NHL, but that's still an improvement on this defensive core at the time.
Correct.
At the moment.
It can't be worse than
we don't have to say it. We know
what we had.
And now you're basically guaranteed Nedeljkovic in net. So your roster's already stronger for the game tonight. So you're thinking win, but before you can't. You're thinking win, but you can't guarantee a win in hockey. What is your X factor in this game?
Is it cheating if I just say Jakub Vrana?
No, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, like that. Say it.
I don't know if. Hopefully, this is a game where you don't need an X factor in a good way. Hopefully, this is just a pummel. You know what I'm saying? Like, best case scenario is one player is not the deciding factor in a game like this. This is just you are a comfortably a better team than the team that you were lining up against. Hopefully, you just go in there and get the job done. But we're breaking up Guelph if Vrana is online too. Bert's going to be back at the top. There's going to be a lot of players that Zadina, like we've been talking about on 4, like there's going to be players that are playing with line mates that they maybe haven't played with in a while. So I think to kind of calm that possible chaos, Vrana goes out there and has a good first game back. Then that's all she wrote. It should be a fine night.
I'm going to go with the new guy. I'm going to go with Olli Juolevi, assuming he plays in this game and it doesn't end up being a healthy scratch.
Just like flexing that you can say his first and last name. Because you never just say his last name.
It's honestly really fun to say. Like, once you learn how to say it, it's a really fun name to say. It just kind of flows off the tongue. But I'm going to go with him, assuming he's not a healthy scratch and he does play in this game. I think he's going to be my X factor. New guy, new team, has something to prove. I think he might not be like an amazing, go out there, score a goal or anything, but I think he'll be solid on the back end and help shore up that defense that needs it. Also, honorable mention, Alex Nedeljkovic, after 2 bounce-back games, probably going to get the start in this one, going to carry things.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Grice to advertise, but I think it's going to be Ned.
I mean, after that game he had just had, I don't know if you want to do that.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah, I guess.
Hey, 2 games ago we got rinsed, but his most recent game.
Against the Coyotes.
Yeah, you don't mention the Coyotes part. You just say his most recent game.
Any final thoughts, Scotty?
Being a nerd is dope, and we ball.
We absolutely ball. We're back with a new episode tomorrow. Game recap episode. Those are always fun. Same time, same place. It's your team every single day.
Every damn day, baby.